Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Libra energy, and we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because life's maybe about learning lessons and tempering your more shadowy nature, which can be your pride, your ego, your fear, your insecurity, your lust, your greed, your immature, self-indulgent, narcissistic personality. And some people have tempered those things, and they've learned some lessons in life. They've been illuminated to the truth. High vibe energy is being more independent of your more immature, shadowy nature and seeing the truth that it's supposed to be about love. And love is where you're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. And being authentic and loving. And that means you have to be, Libra is represented by the scales of justice. You have to kind of be more balanced within yourself so you're not tipping out of balance where you're indulging poor behavior in yourself or others. And sometimes some people are really loving people, but they don't require it to be just and fair. And there's always going to be people in the world that are happy you feel that way and are willing to be in a relationship with you and try to get you to keep indulging them in their more shadowy ways of being that they think are just and fair. Okay. That's quite a few. Okay. I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading, which is the Ten of Pentacles, which is Virgo energy, which can be kind of like Libra. Libra is represented by the 2, the 3, the 4 swords, and I also view it as the King of Swords. What is our truth? What is our long-term objective in our life? At the end of the story, the conclusion is the 4 swords, which can be, I just want to kind of be in relationships to rest in a way, maybe to heal. But after the 4 of Swords and after the 10 of Pentacles, in high vibe, it would be learning lessons in life, completing a phase of life, and then you come out with that new Ace of Pentacles. I have learned what I was meant to learn at this phase of life. I am ready to... I've healed. I've seen the truth. I'm ready to move forward in life differently. Take that truth with me. Take what I've learned with me. And some people never want to give up, though, a way of living life. And that can be in the 10 of Pentacles. I kind of have learned everything I needed to learn at this phase of life, but maybe in their Libra energy of self, it makes them feel stable and balanced, right? And we're all ready to move forward in life a little differently, how we perceive ourselves, how we perceive the world, things that we think are just and fair. And everybody's kind of ready to move forward in life at different times in their life. And when we're ready to detach from an old way of living life or viewing life, and we've healed from fear, insecurity, pain, heartbreak, self-limiting beliefs, then we would move forward in life differently. And some people, though, want to keep living their life a certain way. This is what I think is just and fair. This is what makes me feel balanced within myself. And some people don't ever want to do life differently, which, though, could mean, in order to move forward in life, you have to become... The difference between the 10 of Pentacles and the Ace of Pentacles is the 9 of Pentacles. You'd have to become independent of some ways of living life or viewing life, right? We had to do that when we went from age 15 to 18 to 21 to 25. If I was going to move forward in life, I have to learn what I was meant to learn at that phase of life. And then I need to become independent of that old way of kind of viewing life and living life. And then I kind of grow and mature myself. And the Ace of Pentacles or the Page of Pentacles I'm willing to be a student of life. Let's bring on the next phase of life, just like we did when we were younger and we went kind of to those different phases of life. I'm done acting or thinking or behaving like a 15-year-old. I'm ready to behave more like an 18-year-old. Bring it on. But some people's idea of life, they might have done some of those phases of life when they were younger, and partly because their own peer pressure, friendship group, family. No, you need to go get a job. No, you need to go learn to live on your own. No, you need to go get a job. you know? And some people could have been reluctant even then, didn't want to move to those phases of life. And we can all have an idea that when we get older, this is my idea of what I think is the just and fair way to live my life. And maybe they don't want to face their fears or heal or grow or mature themselves. They have a way of living life. There's nothing I want to get rid of, so then I can't add anything new. And it can be inflexible and unbudging and shadow. Other people are completing a cycle. They have learned lessons during this experience of life. They're healing. And then when they're ready, they're going to be moving forward in life a little differently than they were before. And while some people move forward in life a little differently, some other people aren't ready to move forward in that way. So, what's going on? We have the Page of Cups. And the reason it came out is because of the Eight of Swords and the Moon. So, the Page of Cups can represent all three of the water sign energies, our emotional nature. Some people in their Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio nature. The Eight of Swords can talk about being up in your head, and the Moon can talk about fear. And some people are up in their head, maybe about listening to their intuition, because, again, if you're going to go to that next phase of life, you haven't been there before. The Moon can kind of represent moving into unknown territory. And some people have a lot of fear of that, because we can all like to stay in our comfort zone, is what this can represent in a shadowy energy. Well, I don't want to go do life any differently. I don't know how to do life any differently. And if I were to do life differently, and I haven't been there before, I would have to listen, and the Moon can talk about listening to your intuition. And some people have a lot of fear about listening to their intuition, because sometimes they listened to their intuition in the past and it didn't work out the way they wanted, right? But we were meant to learn lessons from that life experience. We come in contact with all these different people in the world, and we go on these journeys in our own life. The Eight of Swords is Gemini energy, which talks about our free will nature. I can do this or I can do that. We go do this and we go do that. Did we learn the lesson we were meant to learn? Or do we keep the Moon, unlike the sun can represent being illuminated to the truth. Some people make these decisions in their life. Things maybe don't quite work out sometimes the way they wanted, but then they don't want to deal with the truth of why that didn't work out the way they wanted. The truth sets us free. Virgo in High Vibe talks about the truth. Libra in High Vibe talks about the truth. The truth is, in the Page of Cups, if we're willing to offer love to our own fears and our own insecurities, and we offer love to our past and people in our life, to acknowledge the truth that everybody can have fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs. Some people could like to live. Gemini is like Libra, is air sign energy of the mind. Some people like to live more from their mind than their heart. Some people like to keep their more authentic nature kind of buried beneath the surface, and then they could choose to operate more from their egoic nature, their false persona. And that can be where the Moon can represent, I do live more from my mind than my heart, and I do kind of create this illusion in the world that maybe I'm more stable, balanced, loving, mature than I really am. And some people could be quite immature, is what the pages can represent. The pages can also represent that some people are much more codependent. I want to be in a codependent relationship. I want to be in a relationship. You want to be in a relationship? Let's be in a relationship out of our fear and out of our insecurities and out of our codependency, out of our want to be in a relationship, out of our want for these things of the world. We want justice in the world. But sometimes, that is the reason why some people get in relationships and stay in relationships. And if that's why they get in them and stay in them, they want other people to be more caught up in the illusion of the world and of them. And this is just and fair. Look, we could have these things of the world. We could be in a relationship. You could have a job. Let's not deal with the truth that maybe we're all being kind of immature. Maybe we all have a lot of fear. Maybe we, well, hopefully you get the difference. Some high vibe people have offered love to themselves because some things did have them up in their head, and they could have felt like, like they weren't seeing things clearly, or people weren't being truthful, being more authentic, being more motivated and inspired by love. Maybe being in workplaces where maybe they were being truthful and authentic and putting in work and effort to work together with people in an authentic, just, and fair way. And maybe some of the other people were a little more immature, a little more inflexible, and they have their way of living life that they think is just and fair. And we're like, you have some illusions, I think, of what it means to be just and fair. And your idea of what you think is just and fair is different than what I think is just and fair. And the high vibe people listen to their intuition. If I'm trying to work together in high vibe, the Page of Cups is I'm being authentic, and I kind of have that hopeful, believing spirit. And I am putting in work and effort to try to maintain balance in this friendship, relationship, or workplace. But, it can't just be me. Other people have to put in work and effort to maintain balance within these relationships, and they have to maintain balance within themselves and treat other people the way they like to be treated. And, some people kind of have illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. Well, I think I can be immature. I think I can create an illusion that I'm this type of person and that you won't see through the illusion. But over time, people kind of see through the illusion. Who really has grown and matured themselves? The pentacles in high vibe mean that you've been learning these lessons and you've been kind of growing and healing and maturing yourself. Over here, we have no pentacles, and this person is kind of floating up, which can be, some people aren't very grounded within themselves. They kind of maybe get up in their head, have these illusions, might want to be in relationships, but they're kind of maybe not practical. So, I want to be in a relationship, but, they're just not very practical or maybe very balanced, and they're tipped out of balance, where then it can be where it's this illusion about what it means to be in a relationship. And again, either kind of immature or kind of thinking it should be more about them. So, regardless of where people can be in their energy, high vibe people are being authentic. I would say they're listening. High vibe Gemini is aligning with your more loving, hopeful, believing nature, listening to your intuition. Some other people could be trying to create the illusion they're that type of person, but it's more of, I have an idea. I know in order to get people to work together with me, I need to create this illusion that maybe I am more motivated and inspired by love, when really love isn't what drives and motivates me. I just want a job. I just want to be in a relationship, or I want to be in a friendship. But then, We can get in relationships with people, and then we can find out with this next card not showing itself that some people harness this energy in a more shadowy way, and they don't want people. The Hangman talks about being illuminated to the truth. They don't want other people to see the truth that they harness this energy in a shadowy way. Why? Because they might not even want to see the truth. In shadow, the Hangman can be, I might feel stuck. Things in the world and people in my life could be trying to illuminate me to the truth that it should be about being just and fair and stable and grounded and hopeful and believing and working together with people cooperatively from love. But, that's not how I view life. I shadowy Hangman can be, I'm a little bit more stubborn and inflexible. I have my way of looking at life. I don't want to look at life from any other perspective. I might get in relationships. It could go get stuck and stagnant because they're kind of motivated by harnessing this energy in a shadowy way. And the other people they get in relationship with could harness it in a more high vibrational way. And they kind of do look at life differently. And then the Hangman is also emotional water sign energy of Pisces, which can be what we find emotionally fulfilling and our idea of the dream life. And some people, their idea of the dream life is, I don't want to ever look at life any differently. I have my truth. This is how I want to live my life. Well, that's fine to a degree in a workplace or a friendship. But if you're going to get in a romantic relationship with someone, and it's kind of more my way or the highway, well, there's going to be some problems then, because if you're going to work together with other people, well, they have their idea of the dream life, and it maybe wasn't to just be more just about them. If we're going to work together, we should work together. How did you expect this to move forward? What were some of your dreams and aspirations? Well, this is how I expected it to move forward. These are some of my dreams and aspirations. Basically, are we willing to try to see things from each other's perspective and kind of compromise, right? But some people could just really have a lot of fear of change. I have this way of living life and how I like to do things. I act this way, I do this, you're supposed to act that way, you're supposed to do this, because that's my idea of the dream life. Well, it's kind of like they have a pre-written script, and then they have this illusion that for some reason other people are going to align with the script of how they expected their life to play out. Even though they involve other people in it, it's kind of like handing out movie scripts to people. Well, this is your part. This is how you're supposed to act. This is what you're supposed to do. And that's when other people can feel stuck in a relationship with them, because they're not able to be more authentically themselves, more independent, because of some other people are kind of more codependent energy can be. Maybe I have a friend group or a family group is what the Ten of Pentacles can represent. And we all kind of live our life like this. And then you have to live your life like this. Or the Ten of Pentacles can represent the world. I view the world like this. And in my head, I think the world expects me. It's kind of all these unwritten rules in our head. We're supposed to act like this, dress like this, and do all these things. This is kind of the unspoken things that I align myself with in the world. And then if they get in relationships with other people, it's like, well, you're supposed to want to live your life and do those things and act that way and participate in these events and not those events and act this way and not that way, because this is what makes me feel like safe. And again, other people can feel stuck in a relationship with them because it's kind of rigid and unbudging. What is the energy they could harness differently? The King of Cups in reverse. So, the way I read tarot, the feminine figures can represent how we think and feel. The masculine cards can represent how we present ourselves in the world, and in a more shadowy nature, it could represent that we kind of operate more from our egoic nature, kind of wearing a false mask, not really more connected in with our more emotionally intuitive nature to authentically be who we say we are in the world. Sometimes people who might be more codependent or a little more shadowy might be hiding from the world that I really have some growing up to do, you know? From a page, in tarot we have the pages, the knights and the kings and the queens. I have a lot of growing up to do from a page to be a king, because the pages could represent like when we're young and we go out in the world, we kind of, there is no new thing under the sun. It's kind of like learning the same lessons kind of over and over, but at different degrees, and it comes in different forms, and it's still the same things that challenge us in our lust and our greed and our pride and our ego and our lazy nature and our defensive nature and what we think is just and fair, right? And we go through that like when we're young as a page, and then as knights, we could be a little older and kind of more willing to stand up and fight for things that we believe in. And then we could do that in all three suits of the deck. And then when we kind of go through that phase of life, which could be like maybe age 20 and 30, then maybe in our 40s, we could become more in the king and queen area. There could be some people who don't want to have to grow up and mature themselves. That is Virgo energy. Am I willing to learn lessons in life and grow and heal and mature myself and detach from some more immature ways of being? And some people are like, no, I have this illusion. I don't have to do that. And then they could get in relationships, though, with people who aren't wearing a false mask, who have been enlightened to the truth, have seen the truth. If I act in my more immature ways of being, and if I keep letting my mind and my fear, my insecurities in the past, and past pain and heartbreak, and all those things keep manipulating me, it's going to keep me stuck, kind of being confused. And underneath here we have, kind of letting our more the feminine figures can just represent our more creative, inspired, intuitive, hopeful, believing, loving nature. If I keep letting all these things, maybe from my past, maybe things from childhood, let other people that I grew up with, or the community I live in, or the state or the country, keep kind of being what dictates how I live my life, I have to keep my more authentic nature kind of buried beneath the surface. And so some high vibe people offered love to those things to work through them so that they could close out that cycle in their life, to deal with the truth of it. The Four of Swords comes after the Three of Swords, where we could have had mental conflict. We could have had people we did love, people who we didn't like so much. Some people were loving, some people were hurtful. And we just deal with the truth of it, accept the truth of it, that everybody is where they're at. And then in the Hangman, we expand our perception of ourselves and the world around us, and see things from other people's point of view, being illuminated to the truth that everyone has these issues they need to deal with. Some people did work through some of those issues, and those people were more emotionally mature, stable, grounded, just, fair, healing, and loving, and some people didn't. It doesn't have anything to do with my worth and value. I can only take responsibility for me to a degree where seeing where I needed to heal and grow and mature myself. And I could have offered other people truth and love and wanting to work together with them was just and fair. And some of those people in turn didn't want to work with me in that energy. Okay. I'm going to kind of get out of my ego about it. And I want to live my more authentic life and get more balance within myself. This is a masculine figure, which can just mean that, you know, a lot when we're younger, we can kind of let our more egoic nature, and we are kind of hiding a little bit behind our ego, and because we just haven't even come into our own yet. We don't even know what our truth is. We kind of got to go on all these different journeys in life to meet all these people, just even to get clear about what our truth is. And what do I stand up for, and what do I think is just and fair? And then that process of becoming, you know, these little steps along the way, because Virgo talks about these little steps throughout our life. Again, it was great being a 15-year-old. Then I kind of realized I needed to let some of those 15-year-old ways of being go. I needed to see the truth. I needed to face my fears. I detached from some of those 15-year-old ways of viewing life, and I moved forward in life. Some people took some of those little steps throughout their life. Some people never learned to offer love to those things, or haven't realized that that is the answer. Love is the answer. That is the truth. It is what will set us free. But some people are still stuck because they haven't been illuminated to that truth yet. And they're, regardless of if you were the same age or they're 60 years old or whatever, they still haven't been enlightened to the truth. And they just might be people who don't want to grow up and mature themselves, temper their more worldly, egoic nature, all these ways of living their life that they tell themselves they're still just and fair to act that way and be that way. And so they're probably going to keep moving forward that way. And they could feel stuck that other people do this work within themselves. Virgo also talks about doing this inner work within ourselves, being willing to look at those things that we kind of keep buried beneath the surface, to offer love to them, offer love to the past, offer love to ourselves, to work through those things, to heal. Sometimes people in a more codependent energy, it's like, well, I'm supposed to do that work? And some people think, no, that's not the answer. I don't, that's not how I view life. And then it can be, I'm going to go indulge in these things to make me feel better. I'm sure if I eat this, drink this, whatever, I indulge in this, I'm sure that's the answer. Or if I get in a relationship, I'm sure being in a relationship with someone, they'll be the answer to my problems. Or making my life about my ego or my status or my image or having all these things in the world, that will be the answer. And that can be how they view life. And it maybe doesn't work out for them the way they want. They could have had some loving people in their life who left their life. They don't want people to know that. They could have had people who, between friends or family members, that tried to help them look at life differently. But we can't make people look at life differently. They have to even want to look at life differently. And some people have no interest. No, I'm good. I'm going to keep doing this. Same way when you look at when you were younger, maybe when you're in your 20s or something, right? You could have been going and doing some stuff that you thought would make you happy. And some other people in your life who had a little more life experience could have been trying to get you to maybe get more balance within yourself, because they could have felt you were more tipped out of balance and you weren't maybe seeing things clearly. But, pride comes before the fall, and we all think we know best, and we can be kind of prideful and defensive and like, no, I'm sure this is going to make me happy. And sometimes we go invest in some things that aren't very being loving to ourselves. And we might know some other people in our life, that regardless of if they're the same age as us or not, everybody's kind of, you know, depending on how open and receptive people can be. And some people are more stubborn and prideful and unbudging than other people. Some people are way more tipped out of balance into their more shadowy ways of being than some other people. And hopefully, eventually, we get to getting out of our ego. I can't love someone enough. I can't be encouraging and supportive of someone enough to make them change. They have to want emotionally to even want to look at life a little differently. And until they do, it's like, you know what? I'm going to let you live your life. I can still be a loving and encouraging person in your life, but I might not be spending as much time, energy, and effort with you because I'd maybe prefer to hang out with people who I think are more mature and stable and just and fair. But you do you. You go hang out with some people who might be kind of more on the same page as you, and you'll all learn those lessons the hard way, just like some of the rest of us did. So then we have the Nine of Swords, the Strength card, and the Devil. So here we go from the 8. We listen to our intuition. We see who in our life maybe isn't very loving, isn't offering us love, wears a false mask. We accept the truth. So if we add one truth to the 8 of Swords, we get to the 9 of Swords. And the 9s and the 10s talk about getting ready to, the opportunity is there to complete a cycle, to close out an old phase of a way of thinking or perceiving or living. And we all can have some fears about closing out those cycles because it does require in the Strength card that the Strength card can talk about tempering our own fears and insecurities and our codependent nature and something that we had wanted, even if it's just being more independent in the world. Like, I'm going to become more independent from my friend group or my parent group, or maybe what I want to go pursue would require me to move, and then I wouldn't have this foundation in my life that really provides a lot of stability and security in my life and kind of helps me feel balanced within myself, or leave one job to go get another job. And the Devil can also talk about the fact that, our fears, about moving forward. And the reason this came out is because of the 7 of Cups. The 7 of Cups is emotional water sign energy of Scorpio. And, we'd all like things that we invested in to work out the way we want. I don't want to have to go get a new job. I don't want to go get in a different friendship group or find a different friend, or I don't want to get out of this relationship to have to go find someone new to get in a relationship with. But if we feel stuck at where we're at, and if we're in relationships with some people, some significant people in our life, who might harness these energies in a more shadowy way, in shadowy Gemini, Leo, and the Devil card, and Scorpio, Leo is also fixed sign energy, that we can be in relationships with people and we didn't realize that they kind of do wear a false mask, that they're really not kind of motivated and inspired by love. They might be kind of immature. They might try to confuse people about the truth of who they are. And that's shadowy Leo is trying to create this illusion that you're something you're not. Like, oh, aren't you fearful about loving and believing in yourself and moving forward in life. Let me present myself as like the sun in your life. I am the answer to all your problems. Don't see that I'm hiding the devil behind my back, which can be I have an ulterior purpose. It's not really love. I might be kind of immature. I might be kind of manipulative. I might be kind of stubborn, unbudging. I have this way of viewing life. But if you have fear about loving and believing in yourself and facing your fears, not taking this job, continuing to be my friend, leaving this job to get a different job, or you're not in a relationship right now and you want to be in a relationship, don't you? Buy into the illusion of who I am. And I might want to be the devil can represent the world. I might want this to work out and move forward in it. It can be in the Seven of Cups about moving something forward. Like this can be the beginning stage. We get to know people, we work at a job, whatever. We kind of get to know kind of what drives and motivates people and what they like and how they like to spend their time and things they like to invest in. And in the Seven of Cups, we could kind of view them as someone that we maybe could view as someone maybe we could have a new beginning with. And some of the people are on the same page as us, just like when we're at a job and in our neighborhoods or towns or whatever. There's some people in our life that we could feel like, I think this person, isn't immature. I think they are being authentic. I think they, like a regular human being, they have kind of the sun and the devil can represent our dualistic nature. And the sevens can kind of be the tipping point, like which people are kind of tipped more in favor of their hopeful, believing, loving natures, kind of more in the driver's seat of their life, and which people are kind of tipped a little bit more in favor of being more about themselves or their ego or their immature nature or some shadowy behaviors. Some people could really be trying to make a decision. Again, if people have different people to more align with and hang out with as friendships, or they have a choice in a job, because the devil and the Ten of Pentacles can kind of represent those things like workplaces. Oh, I don't know, or should I, and there too, it can even be in romantic interest. Well, we either are going to make decisions living more from our mind than our heart, doing what we think seems more practical and grounded in the sense that, this one seems to be more a stable and a secure choice, right? But we were given our intuition and our creative inspired nature because of the fact that people can wear a false mask, we were given our intuition to help guide us. But because we've kind of listened to our intuition sometimes before and it didn't work out, then people can have more fear about listening to their intuition. Well, what if it doesn't work out? What if it doesn't work out the way I thought it was going to work out? I invested in other things listening to my intuition, or I could have worked there before, or been friends with that person before, or dated that person before. Well, I think if we make a decision more out of fear and insecurity or pride or ego, I think our intuition was given to us as a gift. I mean, we've got to be practical. Sometimes are we willing to, I don't see it on the board here yet, to take that leap of faith. Be bold, be brave, be confident. Stand up for our truth. Listen to our gut, listening to our intuition, and we can have those things where, ooh, damn, I'm going to go indulge in that. Well, that might be our truth, but would we be indulging in our more immature nature? And if we've had enough life experience to know when I indulge myself in my more immature, prideful, lustful, greedy nature, harnessing these energies in a shadowy way, make decisions more out of fear, insecurity, or codependency, it's probably not going to work out the way I think. If I make decisions listening more to my intuition, having more hope and faith and belief in myself, tempering my fears and my insecurities to not get tipped out of balance more into those, and let my more loving, intuitive, just, fair, balanced, taking into account the lessons I've learned in life, other people can grow and heal and mature, who seems to be speaking the truth, who doesn't seem to be speaking the truth, who keeps trying to maybe tempt me more by these things of the world, who tries to appeal to my lust and my greed and my pride, my ego, and my codependency, who encourages me to love and believe in myself and to listen to my intuition, who does seem to maybe be trying to manipulate me, who isn't. I think the people who let their more hopeful, believing, loving nature guide their decisions, I think justice will go in their favor. And I think the people who don't are going to, the things of the world will maybe more tempt them. And again, it might be because there's some truth that they haven't been illuminated to. And again, we can be drawn and attracted and tempted by certain people. And we might not want to see the truth about why we're kind of drawn and attracted, but sometimes we're drawn and attracted to people because they are the right person that will help us, whether they know it or not, just by them being them and them viewing life the way they view it and living life the way they live it and their idea of what they think is just and fair, it's going to help us get that much closer to getting more clear about what our truth is and what our truth isn't. And sometimes we could have been in friendships and relationships with people that the devil can be where it kind of challenged us to kind of heal and grow and mature ourselves and do some of this inner work. And that could be part of the reason why we didn't move forward with certain people. Because like, well, if I get in a relationship, if I keep moving forward with this, I could think it could be just and fair, but I am going to have to do this work within myself to kind of grow up and heal and mature myself. And maybe at a time in our life, we could have thought, you know what? I think I'll get in a relationship with someone who is kind of more reckless or immature or bossy or controlling. And then they're the ones who have to change. And I don't have to heal or grow or mature myself. They do. But it keeps us from like growing to our full potential. And so I don't think anybody who's a loving, nurturing person, I don't think they purposely did it. But I think they could have been, why didn't we kind of pursue and get more in relationships with people who really did challenge us to grow and heal and mature ourselves? Well, that takes work. Capricorn and Virgo talk about it takes more work and effort. And then we'd have to work through some of our issues that manipulate us to be more stable, grounded, and balanced in relationship. And it's like, you know what? I don't think I'm ready for that. I think I'm going to stay in denial of some issues that I might have. And because I haven't been enlightened to the truth, I might be more drawn and attracted to getting in a relationship with someone who doesn't really challenge me to have to heal and grow and mature myself. I could definitely think they have some healing and growing and maturing to do. And maybe that's how I like to live my life. And it can be this kind of more immature way of being in a relationship. Like, that can be us kind of being in our ego nature. I'm going to work with these people Oh yeah, it's like you can tell everyone, oh well, they're just so immature. Well, they're just so bossy. Oh well, they're just this, or they do this, and they do that. And we can get ourselves in a more toxic relationship where someone authentically can be a loving and encouraging person, but then we get ourselves in relationships with people who that's not who they are, and we kind of know it, but we didn't maybe want to listen to our intuition. And part of the whole experience could have been to get us to more listen to our intuition and be illuminated to the truth that everybody has free will. And if you're a more loving, nurturing person, like to be in relationships with people who are more loving and nurturing, maybe a little more stable or balanced or mature, then quit getting in relationships with people who aren't that way. And they show you that's not who they are, but then we want to stay in denial of the truth because, oh my goodness, I want to go indulge in that. And then we go indulge in that, or they do seem stable and grounded, and then we kind of don't listen to our intuition about these other things about them. And it's all this thing of, again, maybe we quit hanging around people who are more immature or more shadowy, but then we still had more lessons to learn. We could have gotten in relationships with some people who seem to be more stable and grounded or victorious and successful in the world, kind of shine bright in the world in a way. Finally left behind some of the more immature ways of being and more immature people. But we still maybe didn't want to see the truth that people can be more stable and grounded. So you can see where when we were younger, we could have, how we're kind of repeating these patterns as a page and a knight and a king and a queen. And as we keep going through life, but there's lessons to be learned at each stage of life. There are more subtle layers to see through. And definitely a big one to learn to listen to our intuition. And then to learn to accept the truth that no matter how stable, grounded, emotionally mature, attractive, whatever, successful people could be, they also have their shadow nature. And if we ignore that as we keep going through life, we're going to have more lessons to learn. Let's go to what the next one is here. So then we have the Knight of Swords, the Ten of Cups, the Nine of Pentacles, the Four of Cups, the High Priestess, the King of Swords, and a card not showing itself, which is the Queen of Wands. What some people did and what some people are doing, and we're going to kind of work through this from a couple different perspectives, is that we could have wanted more. We want these things of the world that we think are just and fair. But with the Queen of Wands not showing itself, we really maybe haven't learned to, we had to learn these lessons. We had these ways of living life and viewing life that we thought were just and fair. And initially, we're pretty kind of motivated and inspired in the Ten of Cups and the Nine of Pentacles to want to manifest these things in the world. But we maybe in the Four of Cups really hadn't learned to love ourselves yet. And so unbeknownst to us, we were still kind of more in codependent relationships because we hadn't learned to love ourselves, to look at life differently and believe in ourselves and expand our perception of ourselves and what we believed was possible. We had this kind of more worldly view of life, and we were kind of inspired by the world, so we made our life more about these things of the world and all these things that we went and invested in that we thought for sure were going to make us happy. And then in the Four of Cups, we could kind of feel like maybe I am in those friendships and those relationships and those jobs where by worldly standards, in the Ten of Cups and the Nine of Pentacles and the Ten of Pentacles and the Justice and the Sun or the Leo and the Devil, it just looks like we have everything we could think that should make us happy. But eventually we could have kind of realized, but I really could feel like I could operate from a foundation of love where I can be out of equally out of balance, where I can be a very loving person, but I'm always expecting other people to be motivated and inspired by love. And that could not be the truth that they operate from, but I want to stay in denial of that truth. Oh no, I'm sure they're going to change. Oh no, I'm sure they're going to grow up. No, I'm sure they're going to be motivated by, inspired by love one day. And we need to deal with the truth that some people view love as the danger zone. I get hurt doing that. I'm not doing that. I will be in a relationship. I will enjoy being in a relationship. I will put in work and effort to be in a relationship. But I'm not going to do love. The Four of Cups can be, I'm not taking that cup of love from the universe. No, I'm emotionally going to align with, in my Gemini free will, I'm more caught up and prefer to not look at life from that viewpoint. And everybody's got free will to do that. I'm kind of more about the illusion. I don't want to do love. I get hurt doing love. Might cause me some stress and anxiety to be more authentically myself, be more loving and giving in the world. So then, because in the devil of my more shadowy nature, I think I'll be okay and I'll be happy. Kind of shadowy Scorpio can be, it's going to be a little more emotionally shallow and superficial. I'll be in a relationship. I'll indulge myself in the relationship. I'll enjoy the relationship. It could look really victorious and successful, but I'm not going to do a more deep, meaningful relationship because I align with my more worldly, egoic nature. And that can stop people from closing out a cycle and being able to move forward with some people in their life because the other people work through whatever the issues were that kind of manipulated them to be someone who wants to operate from a foundation of love, to free themselves from things that manipulate them, to work through those things so those things don't manipulate them, to make the free will choice. I'm going to work through my fears and insecurities, be enlightened to the truth. I want to be more authentically myself. I like to be a loving and encouraging person. I don't like my fears and insecurities in the world and my worldly nature kind of manipulating me. I choose to be tipped more in favor of my hopeful, believing, loving nature kind of being in the driver's seat of my life. And we can get in relationships with people and they're kind of more tipped in favor of letting their more defensive to being more authentic or loving. And it then is their more worldly, egoic nature that kind of is in the driver's seat of their life. And kind of in those more mismatched relationships, eventually everyone could kind of want to be independent with the Nine of Pentacles. Oops. Kind of become independent of each other because we both could feel like I kind of want to hang out with people who are kind of motivated and inspired by the same things I am. And if I'm kind of more motivated more by me or those things of the world and not really love and the people I'm in a relationship with, they kind of, they're trying to make me move forward in this way and I kind of want them to be more. And we just kind of realize that we view life differently. Our truth is different. The foundation that we operate from is different. Everybody can be kind of sad because they could have, liked each other, enjoyed each other's company, could have been friends for a long time, but could have been helpful and loving and encouraging to each other. But it kind of eventually gets to a point, we have all these things to kind of work through and phases of a relationship, but eventually it's kind of like there's a lot of things I could like about this, or it could be a lot of things the other person likes about it. But if one person is more codependent, they could be someone who's always stressed out in a relationship. They have things that manipulate them, their ego, their self-protective nature, other people in their life that is kind of like their primary foundation that makes them probably feel safe and secure or stable or balanced. And even viewing the King of Swords as Libra energy, that can be like our self-protective defensive nature. But a more shadowy energy can be where, well, I look to you for you to love me, but they don't ever kind of do this work within themselves to work through those things that manipulate them to become independent of them. So they always keep staying in that energy. And then they want you to keep staying in that energy. And if you were in an imbalanced relationship where someone's very loving and giving and encouraging, they're like, this is great. I love this type of relationship. This is my idea of the dream relationship. And the loving and encouraging people are like, after a while, it kind of makes me wonder if I want to keep doing this, because I would like to also be in a relationship with someone who is that way with me, but that's not the truth of who you are. So this might work for you, and you think it's like the dream relationship, but I feel like I'm missing out in being in a relationship with someone who's more motivated and inspired by love. And other cases, if the other person is kind of more motivated by the things of the world and caught up in the illusion of the world and more about ego or image or money, could they like the relationship? Yeah. In a lot of ways, could it seem to be very stable and grounded and just and fair? Yeah. But I'm really kind of hiding. I kind of operate more from being manipulated more by these things of the world, and that's kind of maybe how I define my worth and value. I want it to be more about me, or I don't want it to be a more just and fair relationship. I want it to be more about me. Or I want to make it more about these things of the world. And then they could feel like emotionally they're like kind of missing out on an opportunity, because that emotionally is kind of what they're emotionally invested in. That's, you're either building a foundation within yourself from love and being in relationships with other people from love. Of course, it's supposed to be just and fair and stable and balanced and all those good things. But some people, it's like, well, love isn't really what, I'm probably going to be in a relationship. I'm probably, shadowy Scorpio, death, sex, and taxes. I think I could be in a relationship and do more of those things that I want to do, or where I don't have to be just and fair, or I don't have to grow and heal and mature myself, or it could be more about me, or it could be more about those things of the world. And I think instead of moving forward with you, I think I'll go do that. So then, what do we have over here? The King of Swords, yeah. The High Priestess can be listening to our intuition about the truth, getting out of our ego about it. And eventually some of the high vibe people are like, I'm going to get out of my ego about thinking I can change people. If that's not their truth, that's not their truth. If that's what drives and motivates them, and that's what they love, then let them go live their life. My dream can't come into reality unless I'm working with other people who are kind of motivated and inspired by the same things I am, which is getting out of my more immature nature, my more defensive nature, my prideful nature, caught up in my illusions. The Seven of Cups can be that people want to maybe go indulge in their options, want to keep their options open. It's like, well, I want somebody who wants to move forward in a long-term, more stable, grounded relationship, And I also want to be in relationships with people where it's not more about them. High vibe Virgo and the Nine of Pentacles and the Ten of Pentacles, I'm my own individual. I have my own dreams and aspirations, my own unique talent, skills, and interests. And I want to be in relationship with other people who respect that. And some people are like, kind of want people not to listen to their intuition, not to get more balance within themselves. Stay out of balance. Make your life more about these things of the world, or make it more about me. And you kind of realize that, you can hope, and people could have presented themselves as a much more just, fair, stable, grounded, insightful person than you kind of, or less self-protective or defensive, more independent. And then there can come a time where you realize that's not the case. And so you could have listened to your intuition. You got out of your ego about it. You offered love to the situation. And for some of you, you decided to move on from those situations, dealing with your own fears as you're moving forward and you have options in your life. And as you're moving forward, doing this work to love and believe in yourself, give yourself the things you wish other people would have given you, knowing your worth and value, not going to indulge people anymore. If they want to be a more codependent or worldly or immature or play the field, well, then go do that with someone else. And kind of seeing the truth. You can want to be in a relationship with someone, but kind of realizing the truth, I didn't really miss an opportunity in love with other people who they're not in this energy. Because they maybe really weren't operating from love anyway. Maybe a little bit more of creating an illusion. Maybe operate a little bit more from pride and ego. And so long as it's good for them and good for their ego and their image, male or female, and how it benefits them, they'll stay in it. But if you want them to become more independent or heal or be more just and fair in a relationship, they're more influenced by their egoic nature or defensive nature or worldly nature. So you're listening to your intuition about people who are just and fair, to maintain balance within yourself, rejecting your more worldly egoic nature. It's like, no, I'm not going to invest in that. I already know if I take action out of those reasons, I'm going to end up in a similar situation. I need to stand up for my truth, because the other people in the world who don't want to do this are kind of standing up for their truth and taking action on their truth. And it's like, your truth is different than my truth. And there's always going to be other people that have dealt with these similar experiences. They could have gotten out of some situations in their life, had similar experiences as you. They have to make that decision for themselves. Well, I could do this, I could do that. I could temper my lust and my greed and my pride and my ego. I could love and believe in myself. Do I want to repeat that old pattern? Do I want to get in relationships with people? It starts within us. That's why some people have a lot of fear of listening to their intuition. Well, you're going to listen to your intuition and get to know people. Maintain balance within yourself. Speak your truth. See if they seem to be speaking their truth. Do they seem to be more stable and grounded? Do they seem to be more authentic and loving? Listen to your intuition. We don't have to get so involved in a relationship right away. Scorpio talks about the fact that we're these emotionally complex human beings. If we kind of get too involved in it right away, then it is really confusing. And it can be really hard to leave, because then we've kind of gotten more, then all these things of the world. And, how about we get to know people, to find out more about what their truth is before we really kind of move forward in a more involved relationship, maybe. And as some people are doing that, other people in the world could see, boy, this person could go indulge in their options if they wanted. This person could be more prideful, immature, lustful, greedy, and they're not doing that. I think this person really knows their worth and value. They know there's a lot of people out there in the world. If they wanted to go indulge themselves, there'd be people out there in the world who'd be willing to indulge them in turn. But other people see that some people are very stable, grounded, act with character and integrity. And some of those people have their free will of who to invest in also. And some of those people have been working maybe through their own fears and insecurities about, well, am I ready to be a more just and fair and stable and grounded person? Or to believe in myself that if I were to go approach this person, that they would be willing to get to know me more. And and then knowing if I want to try to get to know people more and things don't work out, yeah, can I be a little bummed? But yeah, I'm not going to get all up in my head about it, It's kind of believing that the divine has a plan for your life, and I'm just going to go with the flow. And I'm going to listen to my intuition. My intuition tells me I think these people seem to be encouraging and supportive, and maybe just get to know them a little bit more. And some people, as you're moving forward, some of the more immature people who might feel stuck, got themselves in a mismatched relationship, but they could be the one who's tipped out of balance, or they both were tipped out of balance, and they want to be the next person to kind of indulge in a relationship with you. I think you'll get to know people to figure out what their truth is. You'll listen to your intuition, and some of them will be like, no, I don't think so. And other people, it's like, my intuition tells me they are someone who has learned to love themselves, is more balanced and stable, is more independent, isn't more codependent, isn't being more manipulative, isn't trying to tempt me in my lust and my greed or my pride, my ego, or my fear, or whatever. I think they're being truthful and loving. And when my intuition tells me someone, regardless of what zodiac sun sign they are, is harnessing high vibe Libra energy, high vibe Virgo, and all these other signs I mentioned, those are the people I'm going to move forward with, because I've already been in relationships with the people who kind of harness these energies in a shadowy way. They might present themselves as high vibe, but that's not the truth of who they are. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Libra energy? Ooh, that they might not see coming up. Okay. We're going to take the one that's showing itself, the Ten of Cups. Why? Because of the shadow, which is the devil. Because you were willing to heal and put in the work and effort to get to the truth and deal with the truth of what manipulated you and see the truth of what manipulates others, it frees you from the devil. We all have all these people in the world, people that appeal more, to some degree. It can just be, I'm attracted to you, it has stability, it has security. We have a lot of things in common. But in typical tarot decks, the like Rider-Waite deck, the devil card looks just like the lover's card, except the people have chains and shackles on them. It's kind of controlling and manipulative, or more worldly based, or codependency based. And because you are willing to see the truth of it, even though you can have love for them, you want to be in a relationship with people who are more aligned with your more hopeful, believing, and loving nature, who do offer you love and encouragement. And the devil can mean that also, as you're moving forward, there's going to be a lot of different people who could be attracted to you for a variety of reasons. Stability, security, maturity, seem to have justice in the world, seem to be a just and fair person, seem to be a loving person. And you just have to trust that based on these lessons that you've learned, if you listen to your intuition more than your shadow nature, I think you're going to be long-term emotionally fulfilled and happy, because you won't find yourself back in a more mismatched relationship. And even if you do, the fact that you are willing to deal with the truth, you are willing to see, I learned the lesson I was meant to learn here. Something about this isn't right. I know my worth and value. Am I sad it didn't work out? Yes, but my intuition tells me to stand up. And other people keep staying stuck in things that are kind of unhealthy. What's coming up for some people who might harness a more worldly, shadowy Libra energy? What's coming up for them that they might not see coming? The Tower and the Chariot. Why? Because of the High Priestess and the Seven of Pentacles. So, the Chariot can talk about moving forward victoriously and successfully. It's supposed to be, the Chariot is Cancer energy. It's supposed to be from love. But some of the shadowy people hide that in their Taurus philosophy of life, their truth isn't love. That's not the foundation they operate from. And, if they keep trying to present themselves as a more emotionally stable, loving person that people should want to be in relationship with, eventually other people see through the illusion. That's not the truth. It's not what drives and motivates them. It's more like, well, I want to look like I moved on. I want to look like I changed. I want to look like I'm moving forward victoriously. And, so, it's a little bit more about them. And maybe their ego or their image or something. And eventually other people see the truth of it and other people move on. Or during the course of a relationship, other people did some work to work through their own issues, and then they're not the same person they used to be, and those people are ready to move forward in life a little differently. And these people, it's like, no, you can go. I don't want to do life any differently. I have this way of living life and viewing life. I want to keep doing this. So it's kind of like they never grow to their full potential. And they may have no desire to do that. So long as it looks good by worldly standards and it looks like I have justice in the world, I'm good. If somebody wants me to bring justice to a situation, maybe some people want to stay single. I don't want to bring justice to the situation. I don't want to move forward in an emotionally balanced, loving relationship because I'm more about myself and maybe indulging myself. Could it cause them a lot of fear that other people leave? Yeah, but they could have more fear of maybe being hurt if they were to really more authentically invest themselves in someone. Some people don't feel like they would be able to pick themselves back up. What if I was more authentically? Because there's no guarantees in life. What if something happened where then those people weren't in my life anymore or something? Or some people, Libra can also be where people can't make a decision in their life. Oh, I can't decide. Should I pick this or should I pick that? And, they kind of go back and forth. And because they can go back and forth, other people, it's like, I'm more about this. I'm going to go find someone else who's more about this. Maybe the high vibe loving people are more about that. And they're like, I can't decide. And then they go get in a relationship with someone who might more align with their more worldly nature. But then they're like, I can't decide. And then those people move on with other people. Some people just can't make a decision. And while they can't make a decision, other people are. To go live their truth. And some people just can't make a decision, maybe in the Chariot, how they even want to move forward. The Seven of Pentacles, I can't decide. Well, they can't decide. Other people are making decisions in their life. Some people are going to make decisions more out of fear and insecurity and lust and greed and being about themselves, and they're going to go try to find someone to be in a relationship with. Other people are more intuitive and loving, and they're going to go find people to be in a relationship with. And then the people who can't decide, keep pondering on the truth, and maybe for some even hiding their truth. Maybe there's someone they do want to be in a relationship with, but are fearful. Maybe other people, some people could have acted from pride and ego and were more manipulative, so they don't trust those people. Other people could have seen that they were a little more defensive and want them to do love, and they don't want to do that. And some people might move forward in something, and it's really because they want this justice and they want peace, but they might be hiding their truth. And I think if you're not taking action, investing in truth and love, it's probably going to blow up in their face, because the universe doesn't want people to keep staying stuck. And if you keep investing in things that aren't aligned with your truth, it's probably going to blow up in your face. So listen to your intuition, live your authentic life, quit worrying about what other people think. Because some people, they could have people they want to be in a relationship with, but, well, what would people think? Maybe that person is kind of shadowy. Then people would wonder why I'm in a relationship with them. Who cares? You're the one who likes them. Go get in a relationship with them. Maybe you're perfect for each other. Other people could view someone as loving, but they're fearful of doing a more deep, meaningful relationship, so they stay away. I was just like, oh my God. I don't know. High vibe people are going to get out of their ego about all these different kinds of people, and they're going to keep taking action in their truth. And if they meet someone or are in a relationship with people who are working together with them in that, they've come to a place of peace about people from their past. They're ready to have this new beginning. And then that new beginning are the people that they will commit to putting in this work and effort to build this new thing. Because there is truth and love there. Can there be that we have love for other people? Yeah, but that relationship didn't work out. If that relationship is over, then I am putting in work and effort to put in work and effort, and this is just and fair. And so long as everybody is letting go of those things of the past to commit to what is in the present based on truth and love, then that is just and fair. The Four of Cups can be, some things are a missed opportunity. But are they really? And then there's other people who are like, high vibe people speak their truth and love to people. They get out of their ego. If I didn't align with certain people in my life because I had this growing up and maturing to do, and then I see the truth, I communicate my truth to people. And then those people have the free will based on the truth I told them if they want to reconnect as friends or whatever it is. And if they don't, they don't. If they do, they do. We'll work it out from there. But I'm not going to stay on my ego, not moving forward, getting the justice I deserve, if people decide not to. And that can be the difference. High vibe people are willing to get out of their ego to admit, I had lessons to learn. I could have made some mistakes. Some more shadowy people are maybe a little too prideful to admit that they maybe made some mistakes and had some lessons to learn. And so then they don't speak their truth. And then it can affect the next relationship because it's like an unresolved thing. When you speak the truth and you tell people, I'm sorry, that could be the Page of Cups. I had some lessons to learn. I had some growing up and maturing to do. I have grown up and matured. Whatever. Can we be friends again? And if some of those people could be like, damn, when it didn't work out, I kind of moved forward with some other people and I kind of feel like I missed out on an opportunity with you. But everything happens for a reason. If we're in relationships with people who are just and fair and loving, then that is the next relationship that we invest our time, energy, and effort into. And we acknowledge that everything happens for a reason. We had lessons learned from it. We wish people peace and love, and we move on. And some people don't move on. They keep operating more out of pride and ego and trying to be mad at other people, that other people maybe, I guess the more prideful, immature they are, the more they would try to tear down other people who weren't willing to indulge them in a relationship. So there you go, Libra. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.